Welcome back to Tax Talk with Hey Hey, where we offer simplified tax planning and mentorship to help 6 and 7-figure CEOs ditch the daily hustle by achieving financial independence from your business by increasing your purchasing power and diversifying your source of passive income. Through financial mentorship, realistic goal setting, and simplified tax planning, without having to hustle for the rest of your life, with the guarantee of the optimal roadmap to move you towards your desired time freedom. Let's jump into today's episode.
So welcome back to today's episode. My name is Suhey Piedra with Prominence Business. And today we're here with my sisters again, business partners. Today we're going to dive deep into what it is, how it is to work with us as family, and how it has its pros and it has some cons. So, Cruz. Some of the questions that were submitted this week were about us being business partners and siblings, but how are we different and how does that help the business in general? So I know you and I started the business, and then we felt strongly about bringing on Brisa. Yes. Was that a decision that you and I felt strong about, or did we butt heads about it?
As I recall, I think we were both, I think, on the same page. And that's where you and I are always kind of communication. We've always had that where you and I are on the same page. I understand you, and we can communicate differently than with you and Brees, the communication. So when we saw that the business was flourishing and we needed help and we needed someone, you and I have a system that worked together where my stuff is where it's at and I know where it's at. You know where it's at. And you know where my stuff is at. And so it's like our own language, but that doesn't work in the business if we want to keep growing. We couldn't just always just be you and I. So then that's when we thought, okay, Brisa, bring her on board. And Brisa comes from a background of where she's very structured, organized and things like that. We first were thinking if she comes on board, we brought her on only part-time to help us organize some of that stuff, because we know we needed it. But then after, when we saw that, she was very good at it, it kind of bumped heads a little bit because she came in and Brisa actually didn't really like working with us because we were all over the place.
Yeah. But even like when she was explaining that, it sounds so confusing, right? But her and I, for some reason, like we mind read each other and we speak the same language in a sense. And here comes Brisa. And I mean, tell us your experience as far as that goes.
So yeah, I mean, like you said, I came in and I say to a mess because you guys call it organized mess. I say mess. And, just trying to make you guys see things my way was tough as well. I mean, it still is in some aspects.
Yeah.
But I think because you guys started trusting me and seeing that, like it's working, what she's doing, I think you guys started letting go of things. And that's where I saw where, okay, like I had to like stand my ground more, and I see it more because of just your guys' personalities. You guys, like you said, you guys have a connection, and here I come, and I'm like, I need more info. Like I start trying to I just ask a lot more questions because I'm not on the same page as you guys. Yeah. I could be like, I get there. It's just, it takes me more to like understand it better.
Yeah. And I think that came too from, Suhey and I used to work together at other office jobs. So it's we kind of learned how to work together sooner than when we brought you on board. You and I really never worked at a place together. Suhey and you guys worked together as well somewhere else. So learned to work with each other kind of.
Yeah.
But before that it was like we had to just learn how to work with that. And I think bringing you on board too was different because you still see us as your older sisters.
Yeah.
And you struggled with that as far as what's work and what's still being siblings. And Suhey and I, we distinguished that a little bit sooner because I knew what she needed in her personal and when she needed to be at the office.
Yeah.
So I think you struggled with that. So if you could talk a little bit about how you still, I think you still have some of that issues where it's big sisters versus little sister and when it's work.
No, and I mean, that's true. Like, I think because I never really worked with you guys, and you guys are, I mean, we're all the same age, but again, we never like hung out, with the same crowds or any of that. So when I started like working with, Suhey the first, she was, again, my older sister, and everybody like loved Suhei, and I always felt like not shadowed by her, but I just had to say, well, she's my sister, and like I was in, you know what I mean? Because everybody knew Suhei. And I don't know, I just never kind of distinguished that I could be my own person. I think I'm like, well, I'm related to Suhei. Even till this day, or when I first started Prominence and started networking, I just had to say Cruz and Suhei, and everybody knew, oh, they know them, and I felt better because that's all I had to basically name call, you know. But I think it was my own self that I would be like, put myself in that shadow so that kind of take the attention off of me, because I really hate that.
Yeah.
But as far as like you guys being my older sisters, I think it's not that you guys did it to me. I always did it to myself, where I was just like, I want to hide behind them.
Yeah.
You know, and so when it came to the business, I started doing it the same way until, I mean, not even too long ago, probably like within about a year is when I started like seeing myself like, no, that like Prominence would be, I mean, it would be what it is because you guys work hard and want it. But if I had never came on, I think it would have taken you guys a little bit longer, because me coming in as your sister, I would try to play that card. I'm like, I'm your sister. I know what I'm talking about, you know? And I think if it was like an outside employee, they would be harder to get that to your head, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, to me, the most important part is we're business partners. We all start partnerships. Clients start partnerships. And the first thing they start to do is they start to realize the personality differences. When we say, oh, it's the business is, you know, my sisters and I, oh, you're so lucky, it's family. It's like, yeah, but we're still business partners, and we're still very different in a sense. So most of the time it is a personality thing. It's a values thing. It's what, you know, I find it important to work on myself and go out and really focus on, you know, where are we taking this business, focusing on what are the goals for not just the business, but for us. And because I am the older sister, I feel like, you know, I don't have the option to say this business is going to fail, you know, but I don't feel like I need to worry about that because I have their support. They're the partners. And that's how we all need to look at our business partners, is making sure that we don't just understand their personality, but that values align. And then the workflow will follow after that. So trusting Brisa, believe me, when she first started, I'd roll my eyes. Here she comes with all her 101 questions, you know, because she did. And then she would sit in an office when we first had the other office. This was just like a big room. And she would look at me and Cruz and I would say like the random thing, and she would run with it. Cruz would run with her instruction, and Brisa would be like, but you didn't even give her instruction. And I'm like, no, but Brisa and Cruz would be like, I got it. And I would just see Brisa like this face like, really? You know, nothing was said. And she's over here trying to make notes, but nothing was really said. And so getting the message out of our heads was very difficult. But I believe that what Brisa has done now is allowed us to hire others, and there's a process that can be taught versus getting it out of our heads. So Brisa's done the hardest part and continues to do the hardest part, because there's other things that are still in our heads as we grow, and as I want to do less and work more on the business, there's other people that we still need to hire. And those processes are still in my head. Yeah. Those processes are still in your head, Cruz.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And so we will set different goals. And so I'll be like, Brisa, I think you've helped me enough right now. Let's go help Cruz now, you know? Because, again, her job is to be able to get those processes out of our head, put them in writing, so that we can hire somebody and be able to teach those to the new person coming on board.
Yeah. And I think that's one of my biggest struggles with you know, you have with me as well, is me telling you how I need the help, because if I see it and I know it, I do it. I don't be like, I'm not like the one to go and be like, oh, here, you do it. Because I feel like it takes me longer to teach you how to do it when I could have done it myself and got it done.
Yes.
And that's my attitude. And that's one thing that I've always had. And so me having to explain to you or reach out to you, because you know you can do it and you can delegate it, is the hardest part for me, but not just because I see you as my sister. And I know that as my business partner that I can do that, but I still don't.
And I think,
So
but I
it's
think what
just-
you just said, Cruz, is a big challenge for a lot of the employers. I mean, how many of our
Yes.
clients need a virtual assistant, need help,
Yes.
but they refuse to get what they have in their head and their processes and give it to somebody
Yeah.
else.
I mean, that's one thing that I do with the clients. It's like, give me all your finances, give me all your stuff. I'm going to take care of it. But they do. And then, you know, for me to tell them to do it, now it's for me to give it to somebody else or someone to help me do it is the part where it's like, okay, no, let me just take it. I can handle this.
Yeah, and
So
that's
it's-
true.
I
The
still
advice
struggle.
that we give out, sometimes we don't take it ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that's one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah, but but me being that makes me understand the client. So when they put the walls or they don't feel secure trying to give me this or you know their finances or me asking questions and they get a little like, why are you asking me this? Because I saw a transaction. It's like I understand you, so I can relate.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like to be questioned about well, like why did I do this or what did I do that. But I'm questioning the client. But now I understand like how to go forward. So it does help me communicate and have that connection with the clients because I know how they feel.
Yeah.
You know, and then now being eased into it, being able to relax them to hand it over is where I'm working now with because you can help me do that.
Yeah.
You can help me delegate some of my work and, you know, some things like that. So, you know. it
So-
works.
Obviously, with this question, we kind of talked about the business values and how we see and how we work together a little bit in the business. But what about the personal side, the personal life? How do we manage that part? More like, for example, let's say that there's a family trip. How do we manage that? You know, we're such a close-knit family.
Yes.
And you'll see my mom around and you'll see my dad around, you know, the younger sisters. And so the nephews running around in here, whatever. It's a very family, it's a truly a family owned business. And sometimes clients are like, this is so cool. But what are some of the cons when it comes to our personal life? Like, how do we handle that?
Well, I
mean,
mean,
Well, I mean, I haven't really like thought about it, but I do get asked a lot, like, how is it that you could work, you know, with your sisters or Sue, because, you know, Cruz is in Nevada now. But honestly, even when Cruz was here, we were so busy on our own things that we didn't really see each other all day, that we would still go to mom's and have dinner and hang out and talk about our day because we're all just busy in our own thing. The only trouble that I did have was like, sometimes I would, you know, talk too harshly about Suhei because she is my sister. You know, I would call her dumb or in front of clients, and they're like, "What are you know?" That's your boss or that's your partner or whatever, you know. And I'm like, okay, that's just me being a sister, you know. Yeah. So that was probably the hardest part that I have had, where I talk shit and and it's like, wait, the clients are seeing this, you know.
Yeah. What about you, Chris?
Yeah. Well, for me, I think people always ask that, like, how are you guys always together? And yeah, even though I'm in Nevada now, I'm always on the phone or FaceTime with someone or
Be
something,
honest.
you
We're
know.
always in Nevada or you're always
yeah,
over here.
it's like, you know, I just flew in last night, you know, I'm here for a day and we were just together for a whole week. So it's like, we're always together, but it's not work. When we're in the office, or we know when work is work and we know how to shut it down. And when we're together, you know, on Airbnb, all of us in one house, like, it's family time. Yeah. So we've been able to distinguish that we're not talking about work when we're with everyone else, you know. You know, we do mention the business and how we're able to do that. Is the business shut down? No, like, we still have, the business is still moving as well. So we've learned how to kind of, I think it took us time, but we appreciate that, the fact that, you know, we can be with work together and we can be at home and be family and not be talking about business or work. And yeah, at first when we were at the office, it was just the three of us, so we can talk shit to each other, or we know when someone's in a bad mood just by walking in the door, and we're like, oh, she's in one of her moods, like, don't talk to her, you know, stuff like that. And so now that we hired other employees, it's like, we do tell them that, like, you know, we are sisters, so you'll hear us say certain things, but it's not out of disrespect. It's because we're sisters and we know that. And but we have been able to kind of distinguish the two.
I think what I found the most valuable about working with my sisters is the fact that when we do have a personal thing going on, No one else understands it better than my sisters. So if I need to step away, or Cruz, you had to move to Vegas, like, we're 100% behind each other. Like, we're going to make this work, you know? Yeah. You know, Brisa has no kids, but she has a husband who she's so attached to, in a sense. That's the baby. And she'll be like, oh, it's his day off, so I'm not coming into work tomorrow. I was like, okay, you know. Yeah. But it's one of those things where she's got her stuff put together. It's organized. She gives her tasks to, you know, one of the other employees, or things are managed, and she leaves comfortably. And even then, like, I'll call her and I'll be like, hey, Brees, what's the code to this? Because, you know, whatever. She knows everything, I always tell her. And so she picks up the phone and she gives me what I need, you know. But I think that would be, for me, the biggest blessing, is that, you know, we respect each other's personal time, and we understand that the reason we created this business was to put our family first. Yes. And our business is number one in the sense of, you know, it provides for us all. Our clients all feel like they're part of the family. Yeah. And I mean, we hang out with our clients. Sometimes our clients come down and it's like, let's go have a drink, you know? Yeah. And so they love that we're very family oriented, and we make them feel like family. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, if my kids need me, or if mom and dad need something, they need to go to the doctors. It's like, shift stuff around and go take mom to the doctors. Yeah. You took dad to the doctors, you know? Yeah. And things just get done because they need to. So that is, for me, one of the biggest blessings that we've had since we started the business. Typically, when you work for someone, depending on what their values are, family is not always the number one thing. And so it would be difficult for me to take time off, you know, especially during tax season, and say, hey, you know, I got my kids graduating today. I need to take a day off. It's like, well, hurry up and go to the graduation and come right back, you know. So that was that was always a challenge, is that they didn't understand, you know, family in a sense.
Exactly. Yeah, we've always had to, you know, we'd always choose work versus being with the family, or we had to, because it was our job, it was our main source of income and things like that. And when we created the business, we knew that family, we were always, that was one value I think Dad always, you know, put in all of us, is family comes first. So we've never, that's the reason why we created it, like you said, and ever since then, we've never forgot that. And, you know, sometimes we do. Don't get me wrong, it's not easy. You know, there's times where, you know, I struggle with taking Mikey to practice because, you know, he needs to go to practice, and I'm upset because my books for the client are not done, and I said I was going to get them done. And you struggle with that, you know, as a mom, as a parent, you still struggle with it. But then you remind yourself, it's like, hey, this can wait, you know, shift it and go to practice. And I'm still sitting there thinking like, oh my God, I could have brought my computer. You know, I could have done all this stuff. I was like, but, you know, Suhe reminds me, she was like, no, you have to be a mom. You got to sit there. And we do the same thing to you. Like sometimes you're like, you know,
I think it's setting realistic expectations though, right? Because our clients, every client understands. But I think you and I had that problem when we first started the business. It was like, I'll get it done right now. Yes. The next client calls, I'll get it done right now. Yes. The next client calls, and before you know it, I had 3 to 5 things that I needed to get done right now. Yeah. And there's not enough right now to finish all those 3 things or all those 5 things. Mm-hmm. So before you know it, that client that called, you know, an hour ago is like, you said right now. Yeah. And I'm like, damn it, but between you and now, it's like I took other calls and I told them I'd get it done now. So that was a big challenge, is setting realistic expectations. Yes. Risa comes along and it's like, you can't say right now, you know, tell them I'll get it done by the end of the week. I'll get it done to you by tomorrow. I'll get it done to you by Wednesday. And so that you and I were so guilty about that.
Yeah, for they hated me when I would do that.
Yeah. So we'd hear her on the phone with the client, and she's like, oh, she'll get it back to you in 2 to 3 days. And we'd be like, what? I can do it right now. Yeah. She's like, what? No, you cannot. You have to work on this. And you're like, oh, okay, thank you. Like reminding me. But I'd be like, okay, well, let me hurry up and get this done because I got to get that done. That just called. Yeah. So it was, and we did.
But that was a big one for us. Yeah. It was like, we'll get it done right now. It's just, you know, but Risa's like, no.
I mean, for me, it was like, because I did come from a 9-to-5 job, it's like 5 is off, and you guys would be like, "Yeah, we're gonna end our day at 6." Well, now it's 7, now it's 8. I'm like, you guys said 6, so I think that was my big like motivation. Like, I want to be off when you say we're gonna be off.
Yeah. Even till this day, we still struggle with the calendar where we want to have Fridays off, for example. So she blocked off Fridays.
Yeah.
But if a client calls and says like, oh, so I do try to be like, okay, Thursday. And they're like, well, how about Friday? I'm like, okay, I can get you in. Because I know, but the calendar's not open. And then Brisa will be like, why do you schedule someone on a Friday? It's like, okay, fine, I'll learn my lesson. But it's good to have that, structure from you. And it feels good not to have to work certain days and be off and shut down. And, because it is our business. And then we're always thinking business. But it's good to kind of step away, have your own time and have family time and,
Yeah, I mean, I remember the number one thing that we learned in the beginning was how to use our time, because we could get everything done. It's just we can't. It's just like I said, I'm a structured person, so you have to follow that structure, and it will get done.
Yeah. Well, one of the last questions that was submitted is, when we have new clients and I want to share a success story or two about when we're with clients and we mean business and they get to meet us all, but how do we place such an important role with these clients that they take us on as their back office and we all assume a role, but how does that help and benefit the client themselves? One of the scenarios that comes to mind is, when we have a flourishing client, and I'm like, we could do this, and this for you, and all of a sudden the client leaves, and I'm like, well, I promised this, and this, and I drop it onto Brisa, right? So Brisa's like, I call her my funnel. I'm like, Brisa, I told the client we'd do this, and this, and this, and Brisa's like, okay, But how does the client benefit from me being able to be the visionary, see the potential, and then give it to somebody like you who you're going to take it and you're going to structure it?
I mean, just the way it's benefit us, because that's how we started. You had the vision, the work ethics, and then I had to come and just put it down on paper, basically. So that's what we're doing for the client, and I see that that's how they're going to benefit off of it, because they didn't just hear it, now they're seeing it. And that's me and, the office help here. They're seeing all these pieces that you told them coming together.
Yeah.
And that's always been the thing. Like, you are the seer, you're the visionary, you say it, you promise it, the get it done, do it. And Brisa's the way she structures it and she delegates it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, because if you tell me, I'll do it myself. And now it's like, I get things done.
Yeah.
And then, just don't tell me. I don't tell you how. I just do it.
Yeah.
And then now Brisa does it, structures it. It's like, no, this is this. It's going to go to this person and then get it done. And the client has that same backup when we come on board. It's like, you tell them everything. We set the goals. They see it. We are going to work it together. And now you have that team of prominence behind you. And the client has that relief, like, I don't have to do everything. The girls are going to help me get this done. Mm-hmm. And we do get it done, so I think that's what helps benefit the client, bringing the team on board, because that's what we've experienced and what we like. So we know how to handle that to our clients and pass that on.
For sure. And so with that, I just want to wrap up by letting you know that when we share our experience and when we share what we've been through, and the growth that we've had, this is exactly what we see for our clients. And the challenges we've had, most of our self-employed individual clients are the visionaries, but they don't have a Brisa on their team. They don't have a Cruz on their team. And so what we want for our clients is for them to see the benefit. Most of the time, clients call me and they want me and they email me, and I'm like, you're emailing and talking to the worst, the one you shouldn't be emailing and talking to, right? Mm-hmm. Because even though like we met and I can help you structure things, the one that's really getting the job done and delegating is Brisa. Mm-hmm. And she makes sure that Cruz gets what she has to do so that she promised, and the other girls get their tasks and it gets done. Yeah. So in reality is, we need each other. The team is all of us. You get a little bit of all of our services, and together we come together to form this structure, this back office for the client. Yeah. but we all bring a different value to the client. So when we tell the clients, you're hiring a team, we truly mean that.
Yeah, for sure.
So that wraps up today's episode. Thank you for listening. Of course, you can still find us on Instagram at prominence.services, and our website is prominencebusiness.com. Please give us a like, share us with your friends and family. Thank you again. So if your mindset is ready to excel to the next level and you want to give up the multiple hats to a business who will support you, then schedule a call with us today. We can be reached at 626-825-8249. Please give us a review and share us with your friends and family.